Hello, everyone, and welcome to Grip Blocks, Foundation Disc Golf's weekly podcast. I'm Hunter, joined as always by Trevor and Konner.
Your boys.
Wow.
We're boys,
Jeez, it's like they like planned it.
We are planners.
They did. That was my fourth attempt at this intro because they kept messing up their synchronizations.
Not
Like
true.
Hunter.
Hunter's spitting lies.
We've got some playoff updates from the Disc Golf Pro
a big
Tour.
playoff update.
A big old one.
A big one. This is a big one.
We got some Discmania, some rumors swirling about Discmania after some surprise exits from the company. So we'll talk through that. And then we should have time to get to the top 10.
Yeah, I know. I saw a comment last week
should.
being like, am I the only one that's like actually bummed when they don't get the top 10? I'm like, oh, there's some of you out there.
Yeah, we should get to our top 10.
I think today, although if we have a not as busy show,
We typically
that pretty much means we're not going to get to the top 10. But we're going to try.
ramble.
We're going to try our darndest.
Well, before we get into all of that, let's take a moment to thank our sponsors.
It's us.
That's true. Today's show is brought to you by FoundationDisc.com. Because let me tell you about this. Have you ever headed out to the disc golf course and been like, wow, I'm worse than I thought I was?
Every time.
All the time, man.
Man, how did I build up so much winter rust? You know, I wish my upshots were better. I wish I could putt more. I wish I just could get out of my own head. Well, here's the good news. If you head over to FoundationDisc.com, you'll find a little tab that says Get Better Here. And this is specifically designed to help you get better at disc golf. So we got a bunch of courses. We also have an all-access subscription that gets you access to, all of the courses. These are taught by some by us, some by Brody, some by Robbie. Don't worry, we aren't going to teach you how to throw 500 feet and do stuff that we can't do. We're only going to teach you stuff that we can consistently do, and we're very confident we can help you get there quickly. So if you want to check out these courses or check out the all-access subscription, head over to FoundationDisc.com, click the Get Better Here. You can just loop it in with your normal purchase. You know, if you're buying one of the new Tour Series discs from Discraft, or you want to check out, I don't even know what else is brand new on our site, but we got stuff. The Captain's Raptor.
The Balance.
The Balance might be sold
Shout
out.
out.
Tempos. We got all kinds of fun stuff. Check those out. And you can use code GRIPLOCK to get 20% off all courses or your first month on the all-access subscription over FoundationDisc.com. So again, if you're checking out one of the courses or you're getting in on that subscription, and the subscription's not something where it's meant for you to be subscribed to this for the rest of your life, we are going to update new courses in there periodically, probably around once a quarter or so. But what the intention of the subscription is so you can work at your own pace. So for some of you, you might be able to work through all the courses in a month, and you only need 1 month. For some of you, it might be 3 to 4 months that you can work through it. So you have the subscription, so all the courses are there when you're ready to move on to that next step, when you're ready to switch from working on your backhand drive to working on putting. You have access to it, and then once you work through them all, you can stop the subscription. So use code GRIPLOCK to get you 20% off your first month there, making a $10 subscription. This thing's only $10 to get access to all of this. $8. So for $8, you can get access to all of the courses. It's going to be pretty hard to find a better deal. It's literally the price of a DX Shark. You can get better at disc golf. Hard to find one better
Shark will
out
also
there.
get you better at disc golf.
It will not. All right, let's hop into the Disc Golf Pro Tour's new playoff rules.
This is a pretty spicy drop. My mouth, my jaw was on the floor.
I'm excited about this. So the
I've
Disc
not
Golf
heard
Pro
about this
Tour,
yet, so I'm excited.
They have basically doubled down on, we were talking about a few weeks ago, basically the PGA Tour was like relooking at doing the FedEx Cup Tour Championship, and we had this whole conversation on like, if you're going to do the playoffs have to mean something, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They are now actually making the playoffs.
You and Trevor kind of got in a little tiffy about it.
We did. I tried to get out of it 4 or 5 times, but Trevor just kept bringing me back in.
Breakfast at Tiffy's.
They are trying to make the playoffs mean a little bit more. So the Pro Tour is pleased to announce an update to its playoff qualification system, introducing a new opportunity for players to advance through the postseason and qualify for the Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship based exclusively on their performance at Disc Golf Pro Tour playoff events. They also wanted to highlight that these are made in coordination with the Pro Tour Player Council, which comprises of 9 voting player representatives elected by their fellow competitors. So players basically gave input into this, is what they're saying there. So
they've got a fun
how
logo
this is going
too.
to work is a limited number of spots at the MVP Open and the Pro Tour Championship will be reserved for players who do not qualify through points but perform well during the playoff event. So a strong finish at GMC or the MVP Open could unlock a path to the Pro Tour Championship, even for players who fall outside of the traditional world standing cut lines. So this is specifically how it works. At GMC, players must be ranked in the top 100 or top 50 FPO after PGA Pro Worlds to qualify for the first playoff event, GMC. Registration will open to the top 120 MPO and the top 60 FPO if the field is not full after the initial registration window. We'll talk about that in a second because we'll talk about what happened last year, and I have opinions on that.
He's got opinions.
Then, to earn your spot at MVP, players who finish in the top 8 of MPO or top 4 of FPO, but are not qualified via points, will advance to the MVP Open alongside fellows who competitors who qualify via the world standings. So if you're in the world standings, you're in. You're basically now just jockeying for position. But you now have a chance if you're, I believe it's the top 8 outside of the ones that are already in.
Correct.
They're now being able to move into MVP. So before you couldn't. So if you're outside the world standings, they have 8 spots for those players to move in. Then at the MVP Open, the top 4 MPO and top 2 FPO players who are outside the world standing cut lines will earn their way into the Tour Championship. So again, you now from GMC, if you're part of the top 8, you move in to MVP. At MVP, if you're one of the best 4 players that has not already earned your spot in the Tour Championship, and you play well at MVP, you can now get your spot into FPO. So basically, if you're a player, because now I believe it's going to be 30 players is the cut instead of 32. I believe it's 30 now. Because they're making room for this. So if you're a player 35, but you are one of the best players outside of that cut line, you are now able to get into the Tour Championship. So it's rewarding players who maybe struggled with injury at the beginning of the year. Maybe they didn't have that hot of a start, but they got hot late, and so they're playing really well late, but they haven't earned their way in. It now puts pressure on they're able to get in if they play well at GMC, at MVP, and then they can get into the Pro Tour Championship.
Yep.
So they have more details on that and how seedings. So players who qualify for the Pro Tour Championship via their performance at MVP Open will be the bottom seeded players in each division. So the FPO division number 19 and 20 will be the MVP Open qualifiers, and number 29 through 32 in MPO will be the from MVP. So basically the Tour Championship, it's the top 28 in world standings after the MVP Opens. There's also a chance that if you're number 29 and you play mediocre, but number 28 plays really bad, you could still get in, even if you're not there. Like, you still the top 28 get in, and then they add the 4 more to still get to that 32-player field. So the players that get screwed here, if you want to look at it that way, is if you're 30th in Pro Tour standings, then you're going to have to still earn your way in. So first off, let's talk about the idea, and let's talk about what I foresee being potential problems with the idea. Okay. So I really like the idea, because I think that what it does do is it gives us more storylines to talk about. Because we were talking, like, even last year, we were saying there wasn't that many players who were on the bubble that like the MVP Open actually mattered to them.
I think FPO had like the one with Hannah Wynn, I think was in there, but not MPO, not a ton.
So it was like there weren't that many storylines. Now this guarantees storylines because 4 people are getting in.
Yeah.
So that is one more thing to look at on coverage, which I think disc golf always needs. It also does actually give these events a little bit more meaning, because that was the other thing, is like basically what these events were like, are you going to be 2 behind Gannon, or are you going to be 3 behind Gannon? And that's really all it meant.
Really what these events were just Pro Tour events.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You cared about who was winning them, but the jockeying for position wasn't a huge factor.
Because it just wasn't that big of a... There's not that big of a separator when it comes to the stroke points. Right. And also when they were doing the head starts, it turned out that the bigger head start you had, it might have even been a disadvantage, given how things had went. So it was a little bit of a jockeying, but there wasn't that many storylines. Now this at least, like, there is something else going on playoff-wise, where it's like, yeah, if you're in the top 10, these don't mean anything to you. You're just there. You're playing a normal Pro Tour event. You're trying to work towards Player of the Year. You're jockeying for position, but it doesn't really have that much storyline. But now, GMC, MVP, they have big implications on the Tour Championship, because 4 players are making it in, and most likely the player who gets hot at GMC, that's a big storyline going into MVP. Will that player be able to now hold on at MVP? Because you could have someone who is 100th in the Pro Tour standings get hot for 2 weekends and make it to the Tour Championship.
Yeah, it's electric.
And what that does too is, with the head start, I think it's an important note here. I think it's important to keep the head start how it is if we're using this format, because it makes it where the player in 100th it basically impossible for them to show up and win the Tour Championship, which I think is important, because I don't think a player who played maybe 5 events all year, played mediocre at all of them, snuck into GMC. You're getting there
to make some cash.
Yeah, but what it is important is a player who's in 100th, even just the showing up, you get $2,000, assuming that's still the thing. That's a great payday for them. Yeah. And if they can now move up 3 or 4 spots over the course of this weekend, they might be able to get $5-6 grand.
Totally.
And it's like,
it's
that's
a very valuable
huge
spot. Absolutely.
So now it gives even a storyline of like a Cinderella story where someone can get hot, and yeah, they're going to be 10 plus strokes behind Gannon Burr or Anthony Barella or whoever's at the top.
Yeah.
So they're not going to win the tour championship, but they're only going to be 5 or 6 strokes back of the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like they might be able to earn $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 in this. And I think that's a really cool storyline, and it gives us something else to root for and look for.
When I first read this, when I saw the press release, my first thought before I had read all the rules was I thought it meant that if a player outside of the top, 28 or whatever happened to finish in the top 4, they would get a spot. I didn't realize until I read through that it was top 4 that aren't in it. So
yes.
there are 4.
It's guaranteed 4 spots.
So that I was like, oh, because at first I read it, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. It rewards somebody if they have like a historic performance. Now it's more like, no, there will be like spots being decided, which I agree. Like whether that's perfect or not, I don't know. We'll see, but it will create drama. Here is what I will say. It's fun to think about the Cinderella, somebody coming in from the top 100 and getting all the way through. What is going to happen more than, like we've discussed this before, but the top 72 that'll play an MVP, like it's gotten deeper, but you're realistically the 4 spots that gets decided are probably going to be like, you probably won't see a player above 50 at the world ranking get those spots. Like they're more than likely going to go to people
but
between 30
even if it's someone
in
45th.
Yeah, and honestly, the 50th was a kind of a conservative take. It'll probably be people between 29 and 40.
Well, let's look at last year, because we can do this. We can see.
Yeah. That'll be Who
were the ones that would have got in? That's
a good point, because I do think I hope and I love that there's an opportunity for somebody to do like the double qualifier and get all the way through. More than likely, it will end up going to. But I will say this at least: MVP is a course that certain players can get hot at because it's a little more wooded. It's not your prototypical Pro Tour course. So I think that provides a little more of the landscape you would look for kind of a Cinderella run. These two courses.
Corey Ellis came in 10th at MVP, but he was in 31st, so he would have been a player that got in.
Yeah, that adds up, too.
Here you go. Austin Turner came in 8th at MVP, and he was in 37th, so he would have been a player that got in.
30th. Is anybody?
James Conrad came in 20th. Okay, here we go. In 11th from Raven Newsom, and he was in 45th, so he would have been in.
Yeah, I would say, how many people above him?
There's a lot of players that below him that came in like top 25. Oh, here you go. 7th. Parker Welk, 7th at MVP. He was in 57th.
There you go.
So so Parker Welk would have got in.
Yeah.
Let me see if there's anyone below him. I'd imagine not, but 57th place would have got in. With the modern landscape of how deep the MPO field is, chances are you've heard of the player that's going to come in, like a Parker Welk.
Yeah.
So it's not like some rando off the streets walking into the Pro Tour Championship.
No.
And it's someone who's like, it would have been really easy to get behind the Parker Welk storyline. You know what I mean?
I think, they definitely doubled down on the playoff thing. I think this was a fun way to you're moving up the line, and you can be like, oh, well, this is a real bummer for the guys that would have finished inside but the line's been moved. That's no longer the line.
Yeah,
so
it's early enough in the season.
You know where you need to finish now. It's not in the top 30. It's the top 28, and that's the line. So I think sacrificing a couple spots for the betterment of
the format
and making it interesting, because we will pay attention if somebody does play, somebody really high ranking sneaks into MVP. We will pay attention, and that will be something else to kind of look at and talk about. So I think if you were gonna stick to the playoff thing, you had to do something like this, and we'll see how it works. We'll see if it helps things along. It certainly in my mind can't hurt things. I mean, but I'm not on tour.
The player that would have been the closest to making Chandler Fry came in 25th. I think he definitely wouldn't have made it in, but he would have been the closest, and he was at 81st. So there is a chance of someone from the outside looking in. But like I said, I think because there was plenty of people above him that came in 20th. So.
Who are players right now? That are quite a bit back, but at MVP, and this is early in the season, but at MVP, you'd be ooh, they could get frisky. Who's somebody in the beyond 50th that
beyond 50th? Kale LaVisca.
There's plenty of players. Barsby,
Raven Newsom, he did it last year. He's in 55th.
Humphreys,
Luke Humphreys, Ty Love could sneaky get
Nathan Queen,
Chris Clemens.
There's guys. Yeah.
Jakub Cimarron.
Yeah, there's definitely some dudes.
Emerson Keith, Matt Bell, Luke Sampson,
Yeah,
Connor
you know what?
O'Reilly.
I'll walk that take back. I think there's actually a pretty good
Joel
chance.
Freeman's in 88th.
Well, he's not touring.
No, but I mean,
It's
now
'cause
if he's just got to
played
get
one event.
he's just got to get into. That's what I'm saying. It's like someone like him, where he's a beloved guy. James Proctor's dealing with injury.
I will walk it back though. I think there actually is a decent
Andrew
chance
Fish.
that somebody will sneak in. I don't know though. Top 4. That's the thing. There's only 4 of them. Like, will somebody pretty high ranking get into the MVP? That shouldn't have.
Jeremy
Probably
Colin,
yes.
114th right now.
But yeah, has he played? Oh yeah, he's played a pretty good schedule.
Yeah,
Oof.
he's
not playing well.
He's played a good schedule. He has not played a good tournament yet.
But I don't know. Top 4 is just gonna be tough. Hopefully one sneaks in there though. It'd be fun.
Well, it's the top 4 outside because like it really depends on how much of the top 28 players eat up the top of the half of the leaderboard.
Yeah,
because if the top 28 guys,
odds are they're not going to just smother the whole thing.
No, but if they take up the top 15 spot, like if they take up 28 players, if they take up 28 of the top 40.
Yeah, I think they should just triple down, and if you win a playoff event, you should just get bumped up to like automatic top 10 seeding.
Well, I think if you win, you're automatically in. Or does that get thrown out the window of the playoffs?
No,
because historically it's been if you won an event, you're in.
You get in. Yeah, it's like so.
I don't know if that got thrown out.
So the question would be, if you win GMC
or MVP.
Well, MVP you're in no matter what because
but if you're 80th place and you win MVP,
right? You'd be top. You'd be
top 4. You're right.
Yeah.
I thought I was missing something if you're 100th place and you win GMC,
it'd be GMC.
Are you automatically?
I think you still would be.
You should be.
Yeah, I don't think that would. That should still qualify there.
Now, here's my. This is all great on paper.
I haven't looked at enough
problem.
to develop a problem, so I'm curious to hear what yours is.
My problem's not with the format.
Okay.
My problem's with how registration went last year, where if you remember, they basically were like, we can't really fill it, so not coming after Rozak. Love Rozak. 150th in Pro Tour thing, right? Mm-hmm. He should not have been playing GMC or MVP. He played MVP Open. Mm-hmm. So if you have someone in 150th getting into the MVP Open, you might have someone who's 150th getting into the Tour Championship. That's my problem with this. Is like, this is great if it's like truly because they already have.
Would that just be a SIG story though?
Well, would it? I don't know, because like these are very clear lines. Because now if I'm the person who was in 35th and I finished one behind Justin Rozak, I'm like, my spot in the Tour Championship is being taken by someone who's not even supposed to be at this event.
Yeah.
Like that's because they already have the line, and if they stick to this line, I'm okay. Where they said registration of there's a top 100, registration of the top will open in the top 120 if the field's not full after the initial registration window. They don't have for MVP, it's the top 80, registration will open to blah, blah, blah after. They don't have that.
They've put it out there, so will they hold the line?
That's the thing, is because last year they had pretty similar. These are the field size. This is who qualifies. And yet, because like Brody, to be fair, last year, he was like, we had planned stuff with him. And he was like, well, I didn't qualify for MVP. So like we can plan stuff that week. And then he was getting emails while we were like with him that was like, you can register. And he's like, he refused to register out of principle because he's like, I didn't earn a spot. I'm not doing that. That's like, this is so stupid. But he was like, he could have registered even though he didn't make the cut.
Yeah.
That's the problem with this is you gotta, which they have the chance to, they have to stick to their cut line. Because if you open it up, now you could water the whole Tour Championship, throw it all out the window.
With the auto spots, it definitely gets a little even more sketchy. Because before our argument was, what if one of them wins and gets the auto bid? Now they don't even have to win to get the auto bid.
They might have to come in 20th.
Yeah, or even further. So that definitely,
because that's the problem.
They've got to fill these tournaments. Like in the past, it's like they feel like they have to fill these tournaments to get their payout, and so it'll be interesting to see if
though. I think disc golf cares way too much about total purse size instead of about what does first place get.
Oh, well, they care because they're just trying to keep the tour afloat. But in the last event of the season, they probably shouldn't care that much.
Yeah, well, what I'm saying is the total purse size when we're talking playoffs, because I agree it matters when you're talking about because what ends up happening, we've done the math on this before, is the more people that add, yes, the bigger the purse gets, but also the more people you have to pay. Mm-hmm. So it basically washes each other out. If you have the same added cash with a smaller field, the top line payout can actually go up. Mm-hmm. So for the playoff event, we do not care. about total purse size. We care about what first place gets.
They just got to change the pay line to a set number instead of a percentage.
Well, that could be interesting too.
And then they just want as many people as possible. We're
the
paying
playoff,
out top 40 no matter what.
Now they have the field size set. They'd have to go away from the PDGA, but it would be interesting if like the field size is 100, so we're paying the top 40.
Yeah.
No, because then I guess their problem is only 60 might show up.
Yeah.
So maybe it's once the top 100 have their chance to register, you look at the registration field and you say, of the top 100, 70 registered.
Yeah.
We're paying the top 32.
Yeah.
No matter who else registers, we're paying the top 32, and then let it fill.
Let the purse go in.
Still a bad idea, but. Yeah, for the playoffs, because that was even like, I think sometimes the Pro Tour, they want the biggest number, which makes sense.
I like the numbers.
But like, does it sound better to say total purse, like of $100,000, or the winner gets 20 grand?
I think both those things sound pretty equal.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know what sounds better, because like if you're using it for because like within disc golf, we're watching the event because it's the event. You know, like the Tour Championship, sure, if the winner gets 50 grand, we're stoked about that. But I care more about the winner getting 50 grand than the total Pro Tour Championship purse being 100 grand. You know what I'm saying? So like I care more about that.
Well, the Pro Tour Championship purse is the only thing I use to judge the economic state of disc golf. So
that's fair.
It's pretty important for that
fair.
forecast.
But I think sometimes they get caught up on the total purse instead of like, well, let's just, if this event only has 70 people and we still have the same added cash, the top people are still getting, like, everyone's still making the same amount. It's just you don't, instead of paying 35 people, you're having to pay 50 people. And it's like, okay.
We got to submit our guesses at some point for when they're actually going to announce the Pro Tour Championship purse and what amounts the winners will get. Since it's now become like this topic of interest, it went down. See if it goes down again, stays the same, goes back up.
I think it went. What actually, the winner took? Go down?
I think it stayed the same this past year, but I think it went from 50 to 45.
We can look
at some point in its history.
If you search Tour Championship, it does not bring up disc golf.
It may have been because remember we told them. Remember the whole topic was they should have just decreased. They should have kept the winner payout the same and just decreased like the other payouts because then people wouldn't have noticed it.
I think you're right.
And we were like, why did they take down the first place? They should have just paid. It was because it was like 48 or 47. Like they just needed to bump it a little more or something. I think.
Okay, here it is.
What was it?
So in 2023, Ricky took home 40 grand for winning. In 2024, Gannon took home 35 grand.
It did go down 5.
And the purse went from 322,000 to 300,000.
What was it in 2022? Out of curiosity,
I thought a winner got 50 grand at some point, but I must be wrong.
I think we're just cappers. Maybe it might have just been stayed at 40.
2022, 35. So in 35 up to 40, back to 35.
Okay.
Let's look at 2021. Golf Pro Tour.
So it went down 5 grand each division. That's pretty steep.
Let's see. 30. So it went 30, 35, 40, 35.
Back to 35. Ooh,
so now the question is, are we going back to 30?
Are we going back? Oh, no way.
You think it's a full ladder?
I think it goes back up to 40.
You think it goes up?
I think it goes to 40 this year. I don't think they liked.
So it went from 250
the chit-chat last year.
250 was the total purse in 2021 with the winner taking home 30. 300 was the total purse in 2022 with the winner taking home 35. And then 322 was the total purse in 2023 with the winner taking home 40. And then 300 was the total purse in 2024 with the winner taking home 35. So we'll see. We'll see what ends up happening.
Yeah, I think it's going to go back up.
Both winners took home 35.
Yep. It's the same payout for both divisions.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Always has been. Okay. So that's talking Pro Tour Championship. Let us know in the comments what you think of the new emphasis on the playoffs and being able to sneak your way in and all of that.
Pretty spicy.
I like the idea, but like I said, it all matters if they stick to it. You've set it out there. You've set the guidelines. Stick to the guidelines.
We're going to have to do a fun like picking segment surrounding like those spots. Like who do we think are going to take those spots? Maybe we'll do that for like a side pick'em thing to try and gain some points on Tour Life.
Side pick'em thing. We won't need to gain points at that point in the year.
I hope so.
We'll have a 20-point lead.
I need that.
All right, it's time for the fan favorite segment, Trevor's Trivia, right after these messages.
Trevor, what do you have for us today, my friend?
I've got a fun one today.
Does it require my brain working quickly?
No.
Thank goodness.
But maybe you might have to rack it. You might have to rack your brain.
Okay, I'll rack it.
I did some deep diving into old foundation videos.
Okay.
For some This is Foundation History Trivia. We had this discussion because the other day on the course, we were trying to remember where something was shot, and Hunter kind of pulled it out of thin air, and we're like, I wonder how well we recall things that we filmed over the years. And so these questions,
I feel like I might be okay at this.
if you're a viewer of our YouTube stuff,
We
play
should be
along.
close to the
Should be
best
good
at
at
this.
this.
Yeah, we should be.
We probably should be the best in the world at this.
Yeah.
I've lived these moments.
If you are a viewer of our
Well-
YouTube stuff, play along.
I won't say we should be the best in the world because I only lived it once. Some of our viewers might have watched it four or five
Multiple
times.
Yeah.
I should be pretty.
You
good
should
at
be the
this.
best. Well, no,
'Cause I
because there might
shot
be
it
some.
and
There might be
edited
some
it.
pre-con editing.
no.
No.
Well,
Okay. Then
There are very few.
No.
And I probably watched all
he,
those
he
too.
only did post-con.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like the.
I feel like that makes I should be better now
This is all
because this should be recent memory.
not super recent.
But like if you went
Con's
back to
been
like
around a bit.
2019
Yeah,
stuff, if you went back to like
Yeah.
2019 stuff, like I don't know, man.
Well, no, nothing from there. No.
No.
Okay, here we go. I'll set the scene. This is gonna be. These are difficult questions. Some of them, there's a couple that are maybe easy, but a lot of these are very difficult. So I'll be impressed if you get like many of these at all. Here we go. First question. We once filmed a video where we started by throwing a Sharpie at a map and failed many times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we played with the
warehouse.
top-selling discs from those countries. Which two countries were selected and included in the thumbnail as well? Hunter has a good chance of this because he made the thumbnail.
Well,
So he should have at least a little bit of memory of
I
pulling
do
those
remember.
flags.
I remember
do-
the map. The map's still on the warehouse wall.
I do remember we had to rethrow the Sharpie many times
So
because
lot
we
of
kept
times.
on landing on places
broke
that didn't have any.
First, we
sales.
just couldn't get it to make a mark.
We also
It
couldn't
was
get
the
it.
top selling discs to that country. Yes.
So yeah, like what we had sold to these
Yeah, and
countries.
if you don't know, there's a lot of countries on a map,
I'ma say-
and a lot of them don't know what disc golf is.
I think it was Norway for some reason,
Okay.
and
I feel like one was a South American country.
Colombia. Let's go with that. Are we on a team?
Yeah, you guys are on.
I think Norway and Colombia. What do you think, Con?
Okay.
It's Italy and Canada.
Ah,
'Cause if
We
you
just had it
North
flipped.
American.
The
If you
map.
remember-
I had a mirror.
kind of one of the bits there
I had
was
a
like
mirror.
one of us acing for like a trip to Italy. I think you gave me a chance to ace for a trip to Italy at one point, and that was like a whole thing.
I don't know. We've thrown that type of stuff out all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, just in the last
I didn't know
video,
if you'd
you
be able to
gave me-
recall that just because
that's a hard one.
You made the
Yeah.
thumbnail.
That's a hard one.
Yeah, there's
I've made 3 thumbnails a week for I've
know.
made 5 thumbnails a week for like 4 years.
Listen, guys,
So
meant to be hard.
I don't think a thumbnail's gonna
You
help
just
me.
don't know ball.
I don't know.
He doesn't know ball.
Next
He's
question.
bald.
What was the name of the first course we played on the West Coast tour?
The first course,
Yeah.
It was in.
it was in Portland.
Yeah.
There's no way you guys are getting these.
It was I think
Like
Twin something.
Sunshine Bay.
No, it was.
Wait, it was next to that river. I know it was next to that
wasn't-
river.
It wasn't Pier Park because Pier Park is too popular.
I know it was next to that river, where there was like an energy. It was like an energy
called-
river.
I think Twin something is in my head. I don't know why.
Twin
I can-
is on a somewhat like you're at least in the
Two Pines.
ballpark. That's kind of also in a ballpark. You're kind of surrounding it with your verbiage, with pine and twin.
Something timber.
Whoa!
Timber Ridge.
Whoa!
No,
Close.
No, it's
We're
something
close.
Timber.
Timber. Lake. Timber River.
No.
Timber
Timber
Stream.
Lake is the road.
Yeah, you're right.
Twin Timber.
Timber Park.
Timber
Timber
Park.
Park.
Oh, okay.
The fact that you got the timber though, like that's like half credit. That's pretty good.
Half credit.
That's
I
pretty
remember
darn
the
good.
river.
I didn't think you guys had a chance.
I just knew it was named after.
There's like a
trees.
water treatment center or something, or like was it
Yeah.
an energy power plant?
I don't remember, but it was cool. It was really cool. I
Okay,
walked out
this
there.
one's a little bit easier. During the first All-Star event held at the Hillcat Stadium, it's not the first one ever, but the
Yeah.
first one at
Okay.
the Hillcat Stadium, we introduced team colors. What colors did each of the teams wear? So you got to name the team and what color they wore.
Were these the years that was this the Comic Sans jerseys? The colors
This is
didn't
the
exist.
first time we ever did jerseys.
Okay, so this was the Charleston year. So I was Duke blue.
Charleston was black.
Yes.
Charleston was green.
Yes.
Brad was gold. I don't know what team Brad was on, but he had gold. And
what team was he on?
Brody?
no, Robbie was red.
Yes.
I was
Brody
blue.
was gold.
Yeah. Brody was
Brody
gold.
was gold.
There's one more.
Charleston was green. Trevor was
Can you get
Purple?
Yeah. Well
Nice.
done.
Nice hunt.
Well done.
There's a picture at the warehouse.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
more recent.
That was
memories.
impressive. I didn't know if you'd remember the Charleston being green. That was a good
I will
one.
never forget
I
it
don't know
because
why
I was
I
our
thought
only hope
Charleston-
at beating them. And
That's
I was staring at Avery in that green, the black fade to green
Yeah.
thing
Those jerseys
throwing
were
his
sick.
invader.
Oh
at
yeah, I
Timbrook.
remember now. For some reason I thought it was black.
Those were a grand old time. Well, all of them were black.
The
Yeah.
next year was the Comic Sans
Yes.
jersey.
So next question. This one's very tough. When Konner made his first attempt at breaking 86 for the one wheel, what was his final score?
Oh, I don't know.
He wasn't close. Did he finish that time?
He did. And no, this one, he had glimmers of hope
Yeah.
all the way to like 17.
I don't know.
Glimmers of hope.
I don't know if I knew what the
Because
scoreboard looked like
he
at any
squared the
point.
tree on 17, and then it was over, and he kind of gave up.
Yeah. So
I think he needed to birdie 17 at that point, so he probably was on track if he went par to shoot 86.
And then on 18 I was just chucking.
So 86 was already. So I'm gonna say he shot 91.
You think, Con?
Oh, I have no idea. Sure.
90. Pretty close. Pretty close.
That wasn't memory. That was just deduction.
Yeah. Outside of foundation owners and staff, there has been one in the bag video on the main channel.
Gannon Burr.
2021.
Bang!
Yeah.
Good job. Wasn't sure if you
I
guys
think,
remember
I think
that.
that's the only content he sent us to put out for him, right?
I think so. Well, I mean, shortly after that, he went on tour.
Crazy slander.
That was wild.
Crazy
No,
slander.
I've said this publicly multiple times. Where our contract with Gannon was that we were gonna help him be like a content creator to help fund his tour, and then we came
Then he
here,
got good at
we
disc
filmed some
golf.
content, and then he went on the pro tour and discovered I don't need help. I'm disgusting at
Yeah.
disc golf. So there was no need for our contract anymore.
I only said that to poke at Gannon because I know
Yeah.
he's likely going to hear it.
Yeah.
Um,
So we should have just signed him when he was 15 instead of 16 because then he might have needed us. But it turns out
he just never needed
I think
us.
he
at
was,
16. No, I think he was about to turn. Okay, we should have signed him at 14.
Didn't even need our help reaching something off a shelf.
Yeah, the dude
Already
was just
taller than us.
already a top 20 player at like the age of 15.
That was fun though. It's
three
fun to
more.
It was
hear.
a great time.
Yeah.
3 more questions. During the iconic
Gannon,
and
you're
somewhat,
welcome to fly in and film with us whenever you want.
Yeah.
Just like old times.
During the iconic and some would say controversial plywood disc golf video, how many holes did we actually play?
3.
I think it was 3.
Correct.
Yeah.
3. Finished on that ace there.
Yeah.
Electric.
Only thing that was controversial about it was plywood was in high demand
Yeah,
during that
that's
time,
why
and
it was controversial.
everyone was like, "Man, Foundation must be doing really
You
well."
guys are
that
pooping
y'all-
money. You bought a $60 piece of plywood? Like,
I think it
no.
was 40.
No, it was $20.
Yeah, for
it
a
was like the
video.
cheapest piece of.
Well, we didn't buy it for the video.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
did.
we did.
I
But
think we ended up using it for something.
It was like
after, but we bought
OSB,
it for
like
the video.
strand board, like crap. Like it wasn't. It was not expensive, and it was a small sheet. It wasn't even a full sheet of plywood.
Yeah, it's just like all the comments were. Just,
It was like it was like
you would've
probably a
thought we
4x6.
You would have thought we blew up a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
It was like an 1/8 inch piece of plywood. something like
Yeah,
that.
it was very. It was not expensive. All right, 2 more. Can you name 3?
So it still doesn't matter.
No. Yeah, it also doesn't.
It doesn't
We can
matter
do
the
whatever we
price
want
of
with it.
Yeah.
Can you name 3 of the pranks that were featured on the Wheel of Pranks video we did?
Chicken nuggets in my desk.
what?
1,000 rated. Get freaky.
Lizard.
May it rest in peace.
Could you name a 4th one? Because those are the ones that we always remember, but the other ones, like I didn't even remember them.
So
you got the lizard,
chicken
the
nugget-
nuggets.
Oh, we
and
moved
the
his
spray
desk into the bathroom.
paint. That is one.
Or his office into the
You
bathroom.
remember any other ones?
We spray painted its 1,000 rated zone.
I named that
we
one.
said that.
Okay.
There is
Lizard, chicken
1,
nuggets.
2, 3 more. One of them was done directly to Hunter.
Oh, the bucket of water on his head at the
Yep.
beach. His
Yep.
sister did that.
They filmed it and sent it to us. They dumped water on your head.
The 1,000 rated zone was done directly to me
Well, I meant like,
because that one hurt.
yeah.
Ended up being fake.
Such a good video, man. If only
That's
when
the
I
best
tell
part
you
of
I
that.
laughed out loud the other day because that music is so loud. Like every time I go, like it can't be that bad. And I'm like, what are they saying? The other ones,
My computer was actively breaking while I was editing it,
yeah,
Trevor.
The other ones were we broke his stapler, and then we just broke it, and then we disassembled his chair. I don't know if
yeah.
we actually ever spun that one, but
No,
that was
we
the other
didn't.
one.
We didn't do that.
The final one. This one's pretty easy. During our Halloween special in 2020, what did each of us die on our discs?
Hunter died Prison Mike.
Yep.
And Trevor died. I thought it was the Chick-fil-A logo.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well done. You guys did a pretty good job there.
God, I think I ended up with that Chick-fil-A disc, didn't I?
No, nobody threw them really. They were cranks and they were just very flippy. Maybe
because I had a Chick-fil-A disc before my Chick-fil-A.
Maybe you threw it a little bit. I was the guy that threw the cranks, and both of those, like I threw Prison Mike for a second there, and they were both.
Because remember, I had the white one that just had the big C on it.
Yeah.
For a little bit, and that's what led to my Chuck Away Destroyer I have now.
I think you may have just had another.
And someone else.
You had another Chick-fil-A one. Yeah, the yellow one.
I never threw that one,
which I think is now on my shelf.
I don't know that you ever threw the crank. You might have though.
It might not have been a crank. Someone might have just sent me a different Chick-fil-A dyed disc. Those are fun, man.
Yeah, it was a fun little deep dive.
That was
there.
a good time.
It really didn't take long to you just basically click on any of those old videos, and there's something just very niche.
Well, it was funny. So I'm a big BPN fan, as maybe some of you don't know, but probably most of you know.
Go on more.
And they're recently moving into their new warehouse, which is they're massive. And so in doing so, they were putting together videos of their old places and looking at where we've come from. And I was like, I haven't went back and looked at our vlogs. Dude. From
it is so frat.
So I went back. You can go all the way back to me and Zach unboxing 1,000 discs in the basement of Paul's house. And I went and looked at that. I was like, whew, daggone. That was also, we did the soda test in that one. That Brody still gives me a hard time about, because he's like, you needed one of each can of soda, yet you bought a 12-pack of each. And I was like, well, it's for the office. He's like, there's 2 of you. It's like, last us a long time, Brody. So that one's always funny. But then I found a Patreon.
We'd never do crap like that anymore.
I found a Patreon office tour that we did at the old place when the old place was still our. You know what? Here's a Hunter Foundation trivia for you.
Love it.
Okay. I'll try to find the date for you, actually, because this will probably help you. But I did a Patreon office tour.
Is this
it was an exclusive video.
This is before it was a store.
It wasn't a store. It was still the warehouse, and everything was at our old place.
Yeah.
So it was when pre-Brad, but Silas worked there. So in the video, you have long hair Silas, ponytail Silas.
For sure, Olive Garden.
You have Konner. You have me and Trevor on this back wall, and then you have all those discs, right? And
all those discs, 2 shelves.
No, there was 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 rows, but one of them was double thick.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is when we had built it out. Oh, we had built it out.
We were talking about
we
we're about
really
to
didn't have any space.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me find you the date.
I miss those days. That was a good time.
I miss that space.
Not being able to see my
It's on the
computer
Foundation Nation
screen once you get halfway through the day because the sun is glaring.
Yeah, in the intro,
packing
the
orders
sun,
and baking.
The sun was absolutely
4:50.
Let me search.
Dude, I would stand there at 2 PM packing orders and get so delirious.
The 2 o'clock would hit so
July
bad
28th, 2021. So on these one drop shelves, we had the marble disc for that year, which was Crystal Avenger SS's.
Had those for
a long time, but we had those there.
Wow.
And then in the Discraft shelf, there was a drop about to happen.
I should know this.
That I forgot about.
Oh.
Until I saw it, and I was like, holy crap, we had so many of those.
Janice Thrashers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
We moved them.
We moved them in the blink of an eye.
1,000 of them.
It was crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I was walking down the aisle, and I literally, in the video, I'm watching myself, and I was like, what is all that black Z plastic behind me?
I wonder if I still have the picture of us at the post office.
Then at one point I turned, I'm like, and these are the Janice Thrashers we're about to drop. And I was like, oh my gosh, we had that many Janice Thrashers. I think it was only 1,000.
I remember the video. I don't
think it was 2,000. I think it was just 1,000 Janice Thrashers.
Wait, that's funny. I just searched Janice in my text, and you were texting me. I think you were gone, and you said, just a heads up, you got a lot of packages coming today. Might be all Ledgestone, but not sure. And then I said...
That was the other thing that was crazy.
I said, bro, it's the Janice Thrashers. I said, there's 1,400 of these things. I couldn't believe it. and then I sent in the picture, and then we moved them all. Nothing.
Fast.
Fast.
Yeah, that was
so funny.
That was the other thing, is we had a whole row dedicated to the Ledgestone. To Ledgestone release.
Yeah.
2021 was a different era.
Yeah, Ledgestone was big. I would say I know some.
We had a whole the entire row of shelves down was Ledgestone, and I was going through and I was like, these are going to be hype, and it was an ESP Swirl Impact, and I was like, what was going on?
I know. I knew there was a picture of us moving that. You know, else is really funny. Back in here's your Sunday morning run you sent to me.
Hey, you know what? Do I have my heart rate on there? No, dang.
That would have been interesting to see.
That would've been
Because that was a
interesting.
7:27. It's probably 280.
Well, that was, we were going out. You were running like a 7-minute mile, and we were going.
We were
out
doing it like for speeds.
Yeah, but anyways, it was just electric. Because then shortly after that, we moved into the other thing, or into the warehouse that we're still currently in, as far as our warehouse goes. But I hadn't seen that place in a while.
It brings back.
It was.
When I see us,
It was tight in there.
When I see us all huddled in there, like
this was also the era where we didn't have box storage anymore because I had to move the box storage to make room for the fulfillment or something. And so the box was at the back of every aisle had boxes stacked up. And then next to the bathroom had boxes and bubble wrap. And then on top of every single row had the cardboard inserts just to the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like if a fire would have happened, the like fire like spray things would have had nowhere to go because it was just been spraying on top of the cardboard. It was wild to look at.
There was a lot in there.
That was fun.
It was a good time though.
I'd love to go spend one day back in that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, one day would be fun.
One day.
Because we also had like nothing to do.
Yeah, one day of us being like, oh, let's fulfill our like 40 orders and like, what are we going to shoot today? Like I thought about the other day.
40 is pretty generous.
Yeah, that'd be like a Monday.
10,
it'd be like a Monday.
20, yeah.
When we'd walk in and we'd be like, all right, guys, what are we going to shoot today? What are we going to do?
Yeah.
We did, man.
It's good
It was
times,
basically,
man.
we made all
Good
of our
times.
money on if our drop sold that month or not.
Yeah.
And that was it. If the
They
drop
did,
sold,
then they did,
If
man.
the drop sold, we'd have
God
like
bless.
Monday through Wednesday, we'd fill those orders, and the rest of the month we had nothing to do.
Oh, there was nothing. Yeah, there was nothing like
Nothing
those
to
grinds
do.
though. My gosh.
Yeah. Oh,
Anywho.
good times.
Just good times.
All right.
You do this long enough, we can start a whole podcast just called Good Times.
The good old days. That'll be the next Patreon podcast, the good old days.
The good old days.
We just tell stories from the good old days.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure once we start talking, things will come back. We'd start seeing things.
I just keep thinking of Silas tackling Konner in the middle of those aisles.
That was
Where
like
me
the
and
first
Silas
week.
like barely knew each other.
I was like, Silas's first week. I was like, dude, it'd be so funny if we did this office recreation.
Just decked you.
All right.
Let's talk about some not good
Let's
old
talk about
times.
some Discmania. The Discmania.
No one is listening anymore.
The people I'm about to talk about probably are doing the same thing about Discmania right now. So shout out first off to Disc Golf World because they reported on this and made me aware of it. Because to be honest with you, I kind of missed it because you had to dig to find this.
Big J journalism.
So now I'll also talk about they have an opinion on it that's slightly different than my opinion on it. So we'll talk through that. But Disc Golf World put out a whole video on it was part of their like This Week in Disc Golf thing, and this was a part of it. So Austin Montgomery, first off, he's been with Discmania for over 10 years according to his LinkedIn.
It's a long tenure in disc golf.
And Chris Brubeck has been with Discmania for almost 10 years, 9 years, 5 months according to his LinkedIn. Both of them on the same day, May 7th, my birthday.
Some are saying the end of Discmania.
Resigned from
birthday.
Discmania. So I'll read bits and pieces of this, but both of them resigned, like I said, being together with Discmania collectively for like 20 years. So pretty big deal for these two to resign. And then we'll talk through some theories. So Austin's post, to love your job every single day is a gift. I'm lucky enough to say I got to experience that over the last 10 years at Discmania. It's been a dream come true. I've given a third of my life to the Discmania brand, and it's given me so much in return.
Wow.
Then I'm going to skip down a little bit. If you know me, you know I bleed red and gold. Discmania even shows up in my wedding vows. I think I own exactly 10 shirts that don't have Discmania somewhere on them, and 3 of those are Broncos jerseys. I truly expected to retire as a Discmaniac. Unfortunately, things don't always go as planned, and I have resigned from my role at House of Discs on my own accord. It's been a wild ride, and I regret nothing. I would change nothing. Instead, I choose to remember the good times, the irreplaceable memories shared by my colleagues and myself, and then he shouts out some people. Now, Chris Brubeck. Discmania, it's in our DNA. I'm grateful and thankful for all the opportunities throughout all these years. I've walked hand in hand with absolute legends of the games, gotten to know them, and have learned from them. Am fortunate to call them friends. I can look back and someday relish in the fact that I've etched my name somewhere in the foundation of disc golf history. I could ramble on forever, but will sum up briefly what I can. Disc golf brought me my best friend, introduced me to my wife, brought me to California, introduced us to the adorable and psycho bull terriers we have today, and ultimately led to a son with another on the way. Without disc golf, I'd surely be telling a different tale. I have many things to be grateful for. This I'm going to read because I think this is actually, like, it's cool to see what he's been through with Discmania, and it's also just, like, it's a fun Discmania story. So
Yeah, I love it.
we passed insurmountable odds, growing from a staff of 2 to 3 to over 60 passionate individuals worldwide. We accomplished more seemingly impossible tasks than possible ones. We smoked a cigar after our first $1 million as a company back in California. My wife-to-be and I sat on our tiny bedroom floor with popcorn and discs and a cutting board for weeks on end, hand-making special discs for what would blossom into the world-famous mystery boxes. We ran the entire company on cell phone hotspots for a year and a half because there was no internet. We had no business doing some of the things we were doing, but we learned, we grew, and eventually got exceptionally good at it. We set the gold standard on the trajectory and strategy of signature discs for touring players. Our group was special, a culture most would call a unicorn. You'd walk into the building and the energy was suffocating. A tangible buzz of passion and excitement filled the air with the possibility of what the next day brings. Whatever we did it together, both inside and outside of the office, and although many of us have parted ways for one reason or another, there's not a day that will go by that we are not family. We fought, we cried, we laughed, we were a team. The best team anyone will know. First off, crying. That's very little, I don't know. Gives you an insight into pre-House of Discmania days.
Yeah.
That's sad, dude.
Then he says, as I reminisce on the past, I look forward to another future, whatever that may be. I've resigned from my position at House of Discs under my own free will. For now, this will be the best decision for myself, my health, and my family. I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I'm eternally grateful for the fond memories I hold near and dear to my heart. Without them and a couple of quote-unquote wrong turns to get there in the first place, I would not have become the human being or the employee I am today. We've endured every fire imaginable and every mountaintop climbable. I'll never regret a second of my time within this industry and especially our Discmania family. Thank you to everyone for letting me be a part of your life. I know we'll cross paths again one day. So, the key words that Disc Golf World pointed out in here are both of them. Austin puts, I've resigned from House of Disc on my own accord. Mm-hmm. Chris puts it as I resigned on my own free will.
Yeah.
So Disc Golf World thinks the language here is using to signify layoffs, and these two decided they wanted to resign and they weren't a part of those layoffs. I read it more as House of Disc asked them to put that in there to signify there weren't layoffs.
Yeah.
That were because there has been layoffs in the past. So I think that House of Disc was like, hey, when you make your post, just make sure people knew you did this on your own free will and you weren't laid off.
I don't think that would have been the tone if they were laid off.
No, Disc Golf World doesn't insinuate they were laid off.
Yeah.
He was saying that there was layoffs of staff and that
understood.
they are saying this was on my own free will. I wasn't a part of those layoffs that are going on.
Understood.
Which I haven't seen signs of there being other layoffs. We just know there were layoffs a while ago. So I think it's more House of Discs telling them, hey, make sure people know you weren't laid off. But regardless of what it is weird on the same day you lose two people who had both been with your company 10 years each. So they've both been with this company a long, long time. To both lose them on the same day makes you go, there's definitely something going on. According to Disc Golf World's sources that they obviously kept anonymous because that's what you do with a source, they said there's reason to believe that this is due to circumstances around them closing the Colorado warehouse and firing other staff. So the Colorado warehouse is an interesting one because all of fulfillment had already moved to Emporia. That was announced like a year ago by Dana Vici before he left. So I don't know what was still going on at the Colorado warehouse or if it even was a warehouse, if it was just offices. But apparently, apparently Disc Golf World sources are saying like they closed the Colorado warehouse, which that could make sense because it could be a situation where if they're choosing to resign, maybe they were offered a position, but you had to move to Emporia. And if you already don't like the direction the company's going and you're like, on top of that, I got to uproot my family and go to Emporia from Colorado. I could see that being, you know what, all the stars are aligned. I'm out. Is it that simple? Is there more to it? I don't know. So this could also, them resigning is not rumors, but the warehouse closing, all of that could be rumors, as Disc Golf World mentioned. But he seemed pretty confident in his source. So I think, if he's pretty confident, then he's been right many times before. So I think we can all agree that when two people, though, that have been with the company for this long decide to leave on the same day, something definitely happened.
Yeah, nothing really great comes out of the House of Discs news. We have a little more exciting thing to talk about after this, but I feel like they definitely seem like they are kind of rounding everybody up and maybe just like, I don't know, downscaling and just kind of like retreating to one point, especially in the US. Like it feels like everything is really shrinking, and I don't know how much longer House of Discs will exist on US soil. That's kind of the feeling I've started to get.
It kind of feels like they've just kind of, over time, House of Disc kind of absorbed these different disc manufacturers, these different companies. It could be that since House of Disc is a much more like, business oriented thing, that they are just seeing a lot of waste and they're cutting down on that. And then to a lot of these people, it seems like they're getting rid of a lot of the roots of.
Well, they're definitely cutting. They're definitely cutting down, but I don't even know. Yeah, I think it was mostly just because they've got themselves into a hole.
Well, it's to Konner's point. Logically, if you are an outside business person coming in, and you have now bought all these companies, it doesn't make sense to be fulfilling orders from multiple different places and running offices in multiple different places when it's like, we have a fulfillment team in Emporia,
right,
and a really good state-of-the-art warehouse in Emporia.
Their biggest and nicest warehouse.
Why do we have one in Colorado?
Yeah,
totally.
Because
it might also be cheaper in Emporia. I don't know. But when you already have...
let me answer that for you. Yes.
When you already have staff down there, because then it's also a thing of like, if you're all on the same team under House of Discs, I would imagine Discmania and Dynamic are working separate, right, as far as like their brand image and stuff like that. So it doesn't really make sense from the marketing side, but everything else behind the scenes makes sense to be together. Because it's like logistics, fulfillment, even shipping from Sweden. So like moving to Emporia, that makes sense. And that in and of itself, if there weren't other signs that House of Discs is struggling, being like the layoffs and the Latitude books and such like that it came out, if those signs didn't exist, I could totally be persuaded that like, no, this is to be the most efficient, right? What I think that the concern is from the outside is you are, in doing so, taking away a lot of, as Konner put it, the roots, but a lot of like the brand identities.
Yeah.
Because I think that that's where things can start getting blurred, because I could be the only one on this side of the fence. I could be wrong here, but House of Disc just feels like Latitude to me.
I think they've biased in that direction pretty unashamedly.
Latitude has like a strong brand identity, and it feels like the rest of the companies are just morphing into Latitude. Yeah. That's what it feels like from my perspective. Now, it might be different if you're a Discmania thrower or something, but like before you had Dynamic felt more like small business, family, like USA, that type thing. Discmania felt like, well, when they were with Innova, they almost had they just had a different, almost like cool boy feel type of a thing. I don't know how to put it.
Well, but refined and professional, and clean.
Then, Latitude's had that like buttoned up professional look. And I feel like it's always been Latitude.
Well, the point of,
but then when you kind of merge it all, the waters get murky and everything just starts to look like Latitude to me.
The point of acquiring these brands is to diversify your customer base and allow those brands to succeed at what they do best. And then when you have budget issues and you have to cut them all off at the legs, basically, and take away everything that contributes to those cultures, then that's what you're left with. You're left with just the overwhelming sense that it's one big company.
Well, I think
so that's just kind of what happens. By the way, cost of living, 21% cheaper in Kansas.
There you go.
Wow.
And that's huge. That probably includes big city Kansas, not Emporia too. I'd imagine
that's Denver to Topeka. So like, it probably
Denver to Emporia might even be.
Yeah, it's probably much more significant.
30 or 40. But one thing that even in like the stock market you find where with like big old companies is the second a founder leaves, a lot of times the company loses path. It happened with Apple back in the day. Steve Jobs left. They had to bring Steve Jobs back because Apple with Steve Jobs was booming. Apple's without Steve Jobs sucked. Apple's with Steve Jobs again was booming again. And then if you look at what Apple was really good at, Apple with Tim Cook has started to go away a little bit, indicating Apple's going to slip a little bit.
Like innovating stuff.
Well, they were very good at they offered one thing, the thing. And now there's so many different Apple pencils. And there's several people who are like Steve Cook or Steve Jobs would have hated this. Yeah. That there's not just the pencil. Regardless. But same thing with when Bill Gates stepped down as CEO at Microsoft and brought in, I believe it was Steve Ballmer. Or maybe it wasn't, maybe it was the next guy. But there's all of these that you can study where when a founder leaves, then whoever takes their place, it is this weird thing because the founder's vision of the world, how the founder views the world, is so intertwined in the business that if the next person in doesn't have the exact same vision and the exact same feeling, the brand personality can shift, and then you have a confused fan base. Mm-hmm. And the businesses within House of Disc that are the most confused are the ones that had the strongest founders, in my opinion.
Totally.
UC Maresma and Jeremy Rusko.
Absolutely.
And when Rusko, who is still a part of House of Discs, no longer is the staple at Dynamic, Dynamic's lost. The company that hasn't lost their founder, from my understanding, is Latitude. And I believe Latitude's founder/CEO, if I'm not mistaken, or at least Latitude's CEO for a while, I believe is now House of Disc CEO.
I think so.
So it makes sense that all of them are going to start looking like Latitude, because the guy, how he sees the world is how Latitude has seen the world. Same thing with UC and Discmania. UC was still tied in with House of Disc and such, but he's not leading Discmania, making all the decisions for Discmania anymore. So Discmania starts to look less like the brand they've always been and more like the brand House of Discs is forcing them to be. And so I think that's where you have Latitude with still a really strong brand image, and you have Discmania and Dynamic a little bit more lost. And so what that a lot of times will lead to is the decline of those brands that no longer have that person. And it also, the only time that this isn't true is when a founder's really, really able to ingrain their why and their passion and like why they exist and why the brand is the way it is within the entire culture, which I think Dynamic did well. And I think Discmania even did well, but when you lose core people like Discmania just did, and like Dynamic has done in the past, we'll talk about that in a second, but Dynamic lost core people, then you lose the people who were the ones carrying on said vision and said, like keeping the brand looking like the brand looked. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of House of Disc's current problem they're facing is all the brands are starting to look like the same brand, feel-wise. You can't really describe it. Discmania still has its same look in sense of branding and stuff, but the feel-wise, Dynamic just feels like Latitude to me, and Discmania is just going to continue to feel more like Latitude to me.
Anytime you are throwing the exact same plastic blends across companies, you're already up against an obstacle, and it didn't get any easier with this. Like this was almost like the tipping point, because for the longest time, it's always been that way between like Latitude and Dynamic, right? Same plastic, but there was such difference in their brands that it was like enough for people to cling on to and be like, well, yeah, we throw the Dynamic stuff. But you've kind of lost that now, and it's really blurred those lines. And now it's like, I think it's really set in for people that it's like, and the fact that they've acquired more companies, so it kind of piles on. There's so much of this same exact plastic blend. It's not like it's bad plastic, but
told Trevor,
lose that identity a little bit.
I even told Trevor that on Wednesday, I don't remember, sometime last week, I was taking pictures of some of the discs, and a batch of Castoplast came in with their new plastic, and I picked it up and I said, this is the first like bit of sad that I felt looking at Castoplast, because this is so obviously a trilogy plastic.
It was at least K1 grind.
Yes.
It was at least they recycled.
But that's the one with like the outer edge was a different color.
It's their K1 reground up and then used in that. So it's their recycled blend.
It just looked really trilogy.
It did feel very.
Well, it's because it was like the orbit, and like that's what trilogy is all doing.
Orbit,
yeah, it's the same stuff. Yeah,
but Castoplast has up to this point kept their blends where they feel a little. Different.
They still feel they still feel like Castoplast. That's why I was sad whenever I saw that, because like this looks kind of trilogy.
But it is a question of like, is it just a matter of time?
Yeah,
who knows?
It is really interesting.
Now, Dynamic on the other side made a
very interesting
and exciting move to me, being that they brought Mr. Bobby Brown back to Dynamic. He is the brand director, I believe is his title. I don't know his exact title, but he's over the brand image at Dynamic. And so to me, because when I was talking about Dynamic, the people who were core Dynamic, if you were a disc golfer in the 2015 to really like 2020 era, then
right before Robert left, basically.
Dynamic's identity was tied up in Robert McCall, Eric McCabe, Bobby Brown, and then towards the end you threw in Danny Lindahl and Anthony from Disc Golf Weekly. Since then, I believe it was in this order, Robert McCall left. This is pre-House of Disc. He got a sales job, took him closer to family, I believe.
Yeah.
And then Bobby Brown left, which that one was a weird departure originally because he kind of stayed within disc golf. And then EMAC has never left. Danny Lindahl left on his own accord. And then Anthony was a part of the layoffs from Dynamic, leaving just EMAC of that core group. Now they've brought back Bobby Brown. And so Bobby was always the like marketing guy. So back then they had a podcast called Disc Golf Answer Man that was for a disc golf podcast popular, and people really enjoyed it, but they were doing so much content. We actually, if you go back to early Grip Locked, we talked about how Dynamic was the brand that I felt was doing it right because they didn't need players to move plastic. They were able to move plastic based on the brand personality and stuff like that, and players were like an additional asset to them.
Yeah.
Also back then, Dynamic was on our shelves, and I think pretty statistically the most popular trilogy brand in the U.S. That's flipped since then. Latitude 64, thanks to Kristen, a lot of it, but also because Dynamic's a little lost.
That's what I remember as well. I don't remember knowing anything about Latitude back in the day.
Nowadays, Latitude 64 is the main trilogy brand, if you will. Trilogy refers to West Side, Dynamic, and Latitude, because pre-House of Discs, how it essentially worked was Latitude 64 was the manufacturer. Dynamic Discs was its own company that existed in the U.S. and served as Latitude 64's distribution arm to the U.S., but also was its own company and manufacturer, but their discs were made by Latitude. And then Latitude and Dynamic both had owned West Side Discs. So those three were just tied together, but they were separate companies. Post House of Disc, they're all under the same brand. But that's why when we refer to trilogy, that was the OG trilogy. Nowadays, you could call House of Disc whatever it would be because there's like 5 brands. So it was very interesting. So bringing Bobby Brown back sparks at least a hope that Dynamic can feel like Dynamic was originally designed to feel, because Bobby was one of the guys that carried that brand image, and he was the communicator of that brand image and that brand feel to the public. The question is, will he still be able to do it in a modern era without Jeremy Rusko behind?
Well, I'll say the real question is if all of their attempts at brand, regrowth are to just bring back nostalgia, I think they'll fail, because they're dealing with a humongous disc golf audience that was never a part of that era. Yeah. I think they should bring that stuff back, but I think they have to now present the same feel, but in a way where you don't feel like you're left out if you'd never been a part of it, because so many of the audience has never even seen disc golf.
I think to your point, they need to do exactly what they were doing,
right?
But
start over, basically.
Yes, yeah. They can't.
Which should work, because it was fun. It was a fun brand to be a part of, but they have to do it that way.
The reason we have a weekly warehouse update and I do live streams from the warehouse was because of Bobby Brown's After Hours at the Warehouse, where he would ride on a hoverboard around the warehouse of Dynamic and just show you. I wasn't even a Dynamic thrower because I was a Paul McBeth simp and a Paul McBeth fanboy.
Aren't we all?
Amen.
But I watched all of those because it was so cool just to see a behind the scenes look at a warehouse, and
they were one of the only ones doing that,
and no one was doing it. Yeah. And so I watched them religiously
for the disc golf buyer to see that many discs.
Yeah,
really.
And so he would just ride around on his hoverboard. I think it was every week, and just show you like, this is what's coming out with Dynamic. Sometimes they were live and he'd do Q&As, whatever. That's literally where I got weekly warehouse updates from, and that's what we still do them today. And people love them. So I think like stuff like that is he bringing that back, I think will work. But to Trevor's point, you can't just expect everyone to know it right away, because the people who watched that, i.e. us, we're the minority of disc golfers now, because the majority of disc golfers have not been playing since 2015, have not been playing since 2018. The majority of disc golfers, if you ask them, it's 2020, 2021, 2022. There's even some from I've met someone who been playing. We did a battle against him. They've been playing for a year and a half. Yeah. He just started in into 2023.
Oh, we got a big announcement that just went live as of right now.
Thank you, Trevor. Wow, I would have done this whole episode and forgot about it.
I knew I was tracking it this morning. I didn't think about the fact that we should announce it on the show.
So we'll talk about that right after this huge announcement. Probably saw it in the title, and you're like, "How am I an hour into the show and they haven't said anything about it?" Whoops. Anyways, Dynamic, are they back? We'll find out soon. Really exciting stuff. Okay. Super stoked to announce. I had said before we're going to Des Moines for the Discmania Challenge. I hadn't really announced why we're going to be there. But the Disc Golf Pro Tour has just announced the Creator Challenge. So basically they got some of the bigger non-pro disc golf content creators, and they're pairing them with professional disc golfers who also make content. And we're going to be going out there live on DGN and on the Disc Golf Pro Tour's YouTube. We're going to be playing some doubles, alt shot doubles for, I believe, 12 holes the Thursday before the Discmania Challenge out at the Des Moines course. So Trevor and I are going to be out there. We're super stoked. We're actually going to be on the same card, battling against each other. I'm paired up with Brody, and Trevor's paired up with Yuli. So a little Foundation Tour Life.
That should be
collab.
Our card is epic.
Our card is epic
because Ezra Aderhold is on our card.
I believe Silas Schultz is.
And Silas Schultz are the other two pros.
Yeah.
And then I think maybe Broderick and who's our other content? Is it Robbie?
It might be Robbie.
No, Robbie's on the other card. I can't remember.
Jay Milley?
They'll have it all. They'll have it all.
They have
posted.
it posted. You'll be able to see it out there. But we're super excited about this. It's been in the works for a little bit now with the Pro Tour behind the scenes. So it's exciting. It's now out there. If you're going to be on the ground, you can actually get tickets. I think they're like $10 or something if you want to come watch it. Simon will be out there. We'll be out there. Brody, Yuli. Like I said, a bunch of pros, a bunch of your favorite creators. It's going to be a great time. But if you're not going to be out there, or if you don't want to pay to come watch, you can just watch it on live streamed on DGN or on the Disc Golf Pro Tour's YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And watch us make a fool of ourselves.
Watch us miss
live.
putts on live disc golf television.
And let down. Luckily, I'm only letting down Brody. You have to let down Yuli.
Yeah, Yuli understands.
Yeah.
I'd feel much worse if I did Gannon end up making the list?
I think so. I think he might be with Robbie.
I'm saying I'm pretty sure
The
Gannon's
good news for
playing,
you, Trevor, is I think that Yuli probably thinks you're worse than you are.
That's true.
I agree. Yuli has a
I think
realm of
you're
like
only
who I
gonna
am.
surprise him in a good way.
Correct.
I think.
Yuli's a nice guy. I like
Yeah.
Yuli.
Robbie's with Ezra. Silas Schultz is with Broderick.
Oh, so Robbie is on our card.
Yes.
Okay.
So it's Brody, me, Ezra Aderhold, and Robbie C, Silas Schultz and Broderick, Paul Ulibarri, and Trevor Staub.
Did they pair like Bedanza and Gannon?
No, but Dan's with Alden Harris, I believe.
Okay. So maybe Gannon isn't. Maybe it was Alden and Simon. But anyways, yeah, I think we'll do okay.
It's going to be a blast.
Yeah.
So we'll also be hanging out at the tournament the rest of that weekend. So come check it out.
Yeah.
And it should be a good time. So you can get tickets over there at the Disc Golf Pro Tour, and like I said, watch it live.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for this. I'm really, really excited.
Should be a good time.
I'm excited to embarrass myself on live coverage. I'm also excited to watch it back later and hear what the commentators say about us well, as we're embarrassing ourselves.
Big Germ's going to commentate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the tap in for Trevor. Oh my gosh. I guess that's why he's not on the tour.
Yeah, goal is not to miss inside of 20.
All right, this should be a routine up and down for Hunter here. Oh, I didn't even know there was OB back there.
It's still on his finger.
Yeah, wow.
Grip locked it directly right.
I thought I'd seen grip locks, but I hadn't yet.
Mondays at 5.
Yeah, so that's going to be an absolute blast. So be sure to tune in to that. Do we attempt our top 10?
Yeah, we can go real quick.
Real quick. Connor's got a car appointment in 20 minutes.
Well, yeah, we got plenty of time.
I don't even know the last time we updated this. So we got Niklas 1, Gannon 2, James 3, Ezra 4, Kyle 5,
How about this?
Paul 6.
How about this? For the sake of time, we'll do it completely blind. No stats whatsoever. And then we'll just let the comments chew us out.
Okay, well, Isaac Robinson's not in the top 10, and he just won a major. So he's got to get in there.
Yeah.
Niklas Antela's been gone for a little bit.
So let's start by let's make this easy on ourselves. Let's start by taking out Austin Turner and just slide in Isaac, and then we'll start reordering.
Well, but Austin Turner might belong in there. Should we take out Evan Smith?
We're not gonna know. No, he's still been pretty good.
Austin Turner's been
We're
good.
not gonna know, Hunt. That's the whole point of this. It's blind.
I understand that, but we can still use our guts.
I feel like at the last tournament, I think Austin Turner didn't play well, and I think Evan still did okay.
Okay, so
that's what I'm using right now.
Niklas Antela is not the number 1 player in the world anymore.
No.
So how far down does he fall, and who takes it?
It's probably Gannon, huh?
I think it's got to be Gannon. I agree. So Gannon Burr 1, Niklas 2. Ricky Wysocki's also not in here.
Yeah.
He probably shouldn't be. I think it's fine.
Calvin might move up a little bit.
Where does Niklas go?
I don't know, dude. This is blind's tough.
Niklas has got to be above Ezra.
Blind might take longer.
Whose idea was
Ezra's
this?
been struggling a little bit.
Yeah, you're
Isaac,
right.
I think, needs to go into the top 5. He just won a major.
Just won a
so let's put
major.
Isaac above his brother.
Yeah,
that'll
let's do
motivate
that.
Ezra.
Good
To
idea.
motivate Ezra.
Okay.
So I think 4 or 5 there. I think that's good.
Maybe
so
drop Kyle Klein down a little bit.
Paul's been playing good recently.
Yeah.
Although he tanked at the major.
Yeah.
He's still been playing good recently.
He's still, yeah. I mean, overall,
But we
probably
got to put Calvin up a little bit. AB belongs up. I think AB is in ninth right now.
I'm
We got to
trying
move
rack
him.
my brain so
We'll
hard
read
right now.
you the top 10 here in a second. We're gonna do some work on the computer and just kind of talk and
rack
then
my brain so hard.
I think
right now.
Anthony Barella. Let's put Barella between the Robinson brothers. What did he just do? Is he better or worse than Paul? Gut check. Go.
AB had a chance to win the major. Remember, he was
Correct.
literally
correct.
second.
So I think AB maybe goes second. Best player in the world.
Put him up there.
I like AB there. James.
James did a good job of the major too.
Okay, so
it was
let's-
his best finish in a major ever, tied for 8th. Saw it on Instagram.
Okay,
That's
so let's
stats-
keep
that's
him above.
stats, Trevor.
That is
Yeah, but that
stats.
wasn't brain.
That was
Brain. I brain
stats. Brain stats are okay.
Brain stats are
okay.
okay.
All right, so right now we have
Name
Gannon,
another player. I'll just know all their stats.
Evan Smith.
He also, I think, had his best finish at a major. I'm not even kidding.
Okay,
I think he
so
may have also posted that.
How are you?
Oh,
how-
Ezra Aderhold played low key
He
kind of good.
did play good, but I don't know how he's been doing the rest of the year.
Probably like pretty big muscles.
So right now we have Gannon, AB, Adam James, Niklas, Isaac, Ezra, Paul, Calvin, Kyle, Evan.
Dude, that's a list.
Are you happy with that list?
Send it.
All right, let's check it against the Pro Tour list now. We won't make any changes.
Yeah, no,
We're
we'll
locked
just-
in.
we'll just, like,
this
see
is just
what
to
we
see
did.
who we are criminally leaving out.
What did we do that was so shocking?
Okay, so I'll just go. I'm gonna go position by position next to each other.
Probably Rick at this point would maybe.
Okay,
move
here we go.
in.
So our number 1 player is Gannon Burr. The tour's number 1 player, Gannon Burr. Great. Our number 2 player, Anthony Barella. The tour number 2 player, Anthony Barella.
No way.
Fantastic. Their number 3 player, Isaac Robinson. Just won a major.
They
That's
weigh
fair.
the points too heavy.
Our
man.
number 3 player, Adam James. Okay.
We know Isaac's not going to win a regular Pro Tour, so we don't have to weigh him that high.
Their number 4 player, Paul Macbeth. Our number 4 player, Niklas.
Nicholas hasn't been playing. It's not fair.
Okay. Their number 5 player, Adam James. He was our 3. That's
play
fine.
Champions Cup.
Our number 5 player, Isaac Robinson. So that's fine. We just kind of switched
We
3 and 5.
almost have the
That's
right
okay.
10.
That
We're
sounds like it
close.
could be a differing opinion.
Our number 6, Ezra Robinson. Their number 6, Ricky Wysocki. Reminder, Ricky Wysocki not in our top 10.
Yeah, Rick, it might be our biggest omission.
Our number 7 is Paul Macbeth. Their number 7 is Calvin Heimberg. Okay, that's fine. Our number 8 is Calvin Heimberg. Their number 8 is Ezra Robinson, who's our number 6. So that's fine. Their number 9 is Niklas, who's our number 4.
That's
and
probably
ours is
our-
Kyle Klein.
That's probably not our best.
Their number 10 is Kyle. Our number 10 is Evan. Evan Smith is 15th.
What did he just do?
He
What did he
came in
just come in?
14th.
Okay, so he missed an event.
He missed an event.
I think that bumped him down.
Niklas also missed an event. He came in 21st at the major, though. But he dropped from 2nd to 4th.
This
so
isn't
I'm okay
terrible.
with that.
This isn't terrible.
Ricky-
Rick was a bit of an omission.
Yeah, because he's went 24th, 2nd, 5th.
Yeah.
So he should be in there above Evan Smith.
And we'll give him
But
next
other
time.
than that,
We'll
pretty
get him-
well done.
We'll get him
I'm
next
proud
time.
of you guys.
To be honest, not too bad. Oh, you know what is bad is Adam James came in 83rd at Kansas City Wide Open.
Yeah,
and we
I feel
kept
like
him third.
James
We kept
was a
him
little
third
bit
in the
high
world.
on there.
Ooh, but
felt
like
like
the
James
rest of
was
the
a little
season
high.
has been so good.
It has, but we're normally the more recency bias podcast.
He should definitely be at the bottom part of that 10.
Yeah,
But,
we're
you
not
know,
going to adjust.
not
No
gonna
adjustments
adjust.
allowed.
Gut
that was a
check.
gut check top 10.
You have to make sure your gut is still somewhat accurate, and I think our gut's like 71%
yeah,
accurate.
I think we
Yeah.
can from here
71%.
when we have a little bit of stats, we're dialed.
Yeah. Oh, you.
So we just need a little
you
stats.
sprinkling a little bit
Our
of
guts,
stat.
our guts are good. We just need a little stats to
A little
balance
bit of
them
that
out.
stat sprinkle.
All right, well that's going to wrap up this episode. Hopefully you enjoyed.
We
If
can't
you're-
do Silas Select because Silas
Silas
isn't
is not here.
He
He's on
cannot
vacay.
select.
But if you're out in Des Moines, come see us. We're going to be excited to be out there in about a month. We'll talk to you then.
Dude.